And he said, look, I'm too busy to take it to the scrapyard at the moment. Can you, he'll just leave it in his, or he'll leave it down his wood yard. Well, scrap prices went through the roof. He made an absolute killing. Good on him.
Yeah.
That's right, that's what I say. But so all the aerials went.
So when the ministry said, right, that's Simon's, you sort it. Is that basically it?
Yeah. Well, no. Their brief was the aerials was all the farm when they pulled out. The brief that VT Merlin had was everything had to go to ground level.
Right.
All right, everything went to ground level, and they says, "Oh no, we're not taking the fences." I says, that's not ground level. They're above ground. They have to come out. So we've got all the barbed wire rolled up by them. You know, I helped them do it.
Yeah.
We got all the fences taken away, and then there was big pieces of steel sticking out of the concrete about this far.
Yeah, I remember.
Like that.
Yeah.
They were, and I said, you have to cut those off. Because I said, I'm not going anywhere near that with my tractor. And they said, because I stake a tyre, I said, we were in for big claim. So that's what they did, was they took everything to ground level. Then when Simon took the farm over, we paid Lockhart's come in and demolished all the concrete squares where they had ducting in them.
Yeah.
No, where they had ducting in them.
Yeah.
And then we paid Smiths from Bletchington to come in, and I think they charged us something like 13,000 to dig all the concrete out the ground, which was all these bits here, right round all this here. And I think they said they could do it in 2 weeks, and they were here for 5. And the idea was that they dug the concrete out the ground and had to backfill with topsoil. So that's what they did.
Was that the concrete where each pylon
Yeah,
stood?
every. Well, you see, it wasn't pylons. They were just masts, weren't they? Because originally they were pylons years ago, weren't they?
They were just a finger.
They were. That's why they're shaped in triangles. So
That's right.
the actual mast only sat on a block about 1 metre square.
Right.
But each anchor point had about 25 cubic metres of concrete. So they were some.
Huge.
It was, but we did say to Smiths when they took the job on, we don't know what's underground. We just have not got a clue. And they says, oh yeah, we can handle that. That's not a problem. So they come in with a big digger, and they come in with a smaller digger, and the smaller digger dug around the outside of them, and they had to get the big digger to try and. We were going to try and pull them out the ground. They were too big to pull out the ground, so they had to then get a pecker and break the blocks off. Because what they'd evidently must have done was poured a piece of concrete like that, and then decided it wasn't big enough. So then they poured around the outside of it again. So that's they were able to peck down the joins of it.
My guess is Smiths provided the concrete in the first place, and they had 2 bites for the cherry.
I wouldn't have a clue, but the arrangement was that they would take away all the concrete, backfill it with topsoil, and they crushed the concrete and then sold it back again.
Yeah.
So they were on a because I think to buy crushed concrete's about £10 a tonne.
Yeah.
Now
Yes,
if they took out 20,000 tonnes.
£200 a lorry load. That's right. My grandson just.
Well, if they took out 20,000 tonne,
They've had a lot of.
all right.
Yeah.
Plus they charged us to do it.
Yeah.
Another 13,000. They were on a runner, but they had to cover the costs.
Yeah, and the topsoil coming back isn't cheap.
Yeah. Well, it's where they're ever stripping anything or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's
what an operation.
But all these pieces here, that one and that one, were what they called those loop aerials. Do you remember those?
Oh yes, I had the lads stay with me, bed and breakfast, that put them in.
Yeah, well those loop aerials, when I first come here, the dairy cows got out one night, and they were down in this one here, and they were rubbing their heads. They had their heads going like this inside them, rubbing their necks on it, you see. I was so embarrassed at what had happened. I went to the CO, and I said to him, I'm ever so sorry the cows got out, and got into your loop aerials. He says, I didn't know anything about it. I says, you what? He says, with all your surveillance, and you didn't know. I says, what was that? What would happen? Because what sprung to mind
was an Irish cow.
No, what sprung to mind was Dad's army.
Right, yeah.
And I said, what happened if the enemy had dressed up as dairy cows? I says, you remember that Dad's army when they dressed up as a dairy cow? I says, well, they could have snuck up on you.
Well, I never.
So he says, oh no, he didn't like that very much.
So now all the aerials that were put up in the 1940s, all remnants have gone, disappeared completely.
Almost all.
You've still got some up, is there?
No, we've got nothing there.
But
So yeah, it has
there's the one
disappeared.
that Ray Evans uses.
Oh, that's the Mercury Tower, which is there. That was Mercury. That one's still there. That one's still there, and the one on the bottom camp. But they're NTL masts.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are both NTL. They're still military owned. That's why.
And yet they're providing the telephone industry.
I don't know what it's to do with. I don't understand it. All right. But this one here was a Mercury. Because that was a Mercury mast on our ground, if you like, and not within the compound, Mercury had the option to come and take it away, and they never did anything about it. And so Simon bought it because he thought, oh, it could be a money spinner there. We'll put, Vodafone or whatever up on it, and it never ever eventuated. They said no, the Vodafone wouldn't do it, but Simon still owned the mast. But anyway, one day Mercury people come in. They started stripping stuff off it. Next day they turned up with a crane to start and pull it down. And Simon said, block the road, they're not coming in here. So he blocked the road and there was phones going everywhere, and in the end they had to come back, put the stuff they stripped off it back on because Simon owned it.
Good for Simon.
So we
Was
were
that the
maintained.
one that Ray rents?
Yeah, it's the one that Ray rents. Now it's sat empty for Ray come and asked them, and they wanted it for the radio club and that sort of thing, or whatever it is, and they didn't want to buy it, so Ray says, well, I'll rent it myself, I'll have it. So he's up there all the time, he loves it. There's 3 of them or 4 of them up there.
That's right.
They absolutely love it. He goes up there and he says, oh, these weeds in this sprain. I go, piss off, you old bastard. And he says, oh, this won't die. Anyway, he says, you haven't used much, it's not dead yet. I said, look, you just leave it alone. You go in there with Roundup. This is what people do. They don't understand Roundup. They go out and they
Instant.
but they go out and they spray the plant with Roundup, and then they go and pull the weed out. or they go and pull the weeds out and then spray with Roundup. Now Roundup only works on
It's a systemic thing.
it only works on an actively growing plant. Now if you've got a long dry spell and the plant's not growing, it won't work.
No.
It needs to actively be growing, but people don't understand that. And that's why they say, oh, they go to B&Q and they buy their Roundup from there, and they say, oh, the stuff you get from B&Q's crap. Well, you don't pull the plant leaves off and then try and spray it with Roundup. It won't work, but they don't understand that.
Like my father said, a little knowledge is a very dangerous thing.
It is very dangerous.
Yeah.